Hello everyone, Andrew Tenjum here, recording for Cardhoarder.com, and we are playing Modern Dredge. We have won the dice roll, so we'll be on the play. And this hand does not have a way to get a dredger in the graveyard, so we are going to mulligan. Yeah, this hand's even worse. We're going to have to go down to 5 here. It's really hard to keep any hands with this deck that don't have a way to get a dredger in the graveyard on turn 1. But it's okay because this deck mulligans fairly well. As long as we're able to get an enabler plus a dredger, then we don't really need additional cards in our hand. So I'm perfectly fine mulling to 5 here. This hand has a couple enablers, and Dackmore Salvage is technically a dredge card. It's not a very good one, but this hand's still good enough to keep. And I'm going to go ahead and bottom the Neonate. Because we do want to find a dredger as soon as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with this Faithless Looting. We just need to find a dredger as soon as possible, so we want to get through our deck a little bit. And we missed on a dredger, but we did hit a Shriekhorn, which is not terrible. And I'll discard this Dackmore Salvage because we're just going to dredge that. Playing against Affinity, which this is an interesting matchup because it's essentially just a race. Obviously, we're not in great shape on a mull to 5, but we'll try to make do. We'll go ahead and dredge 2 with this Dackmore Salvage. Alright, so next up we will play Shriekhorn. And I'm going to go ahead and mill ourselves now. Okay, so we did hit a Stinkweed Imp, which is decent. Go ahead and play the Neonate, and then discard the Dackmore Salvage, and then go ahead and dredge the Stinkweed Imp. We just want to get as many cards flowing as possible. And then we'll go ahead and pass turn. We're going to take quite a bit of damage here. But on a positive note, we do have a Conflagrate in the graveyard, so that's pretty good against Affinity. Especially against a Steel Overseer. So we'll take the 6 damage. Draw step, I'll dredge Stinkweed Imp. We hit a Narcomoeba. And we triggered both of our prized amalgams, which is pretty decent. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start by milling ourselves. Didn't hit anything relevant, that's okay. Next up, we're going to Conflagrate, doing 1 to the Overseer and 1 to the Memnite. Discarding all our dredgers, so we'll get a bunch of dredgers in the graveyard, which is great, and clear his board. He replaced his board with 2 new creatures, but as long as he isn't able to kill us next turn, we should be in decent shape depending on what we hit off our dredges. But him being able to kill us next turn is certainly a concern. It's not a given that we survive at all. So I think he's deciding whether he should equip his cranial plane to his Vault Scourge or his Ravager. He chose his Vault Scourge. Alright, so draw step, I'll start by dredging Stinkweed Imp. And go ahead and mill ourselves some more. Alright, unfortunately we cannot do much at the moment. We don't have enough mana. To flashback Faithless Looting or anything, so the only thing we can really do here is attack him. He could sack his Ravager to make for some good blocks, but I think our play is fine for now. So he'll go ahead and take 7 down to 11, and we'll pass turn. So I'm going to go ahead and block his Vault Scourge here. It'll probably force him to sack his Ravager, I'm guessing. So he'll gain a bunch of life, but then he'll be left with essentially just a Vault Scourge. Which will be tough to beat, but it's definitely beatable. Alright, for our draw step, I'm going to dredge Stinkweed Imp. And we hit another Narcomoeba, which is decent. So we'll hit him for 7. Turn another Pies Golf on. So essentially we're just going to keep chump blocking this Vault Scourge as long as we can. He'll keep getting a bunch of life, but we'll keep attacking him down to a lower amount of life. And the way we will get ahead eventually is just by dredging more and more until we can hit something like another Conflagrate, for example. Alright, so he's going to animate his Ink Moth and attack us, and we'll go ahead and chump block his Vault Scourge, so he'll gain a ton of life. Go ahead and dredge Grave Troll. Alright, so... Ooh, I honestly forgot that we don't have enough mana to flashback Conflagrate even though we did hit it, so we're going to need a second land eventually. So I'm going to just go ahead and attack with our Amalgams. And then we might have to start thinking about either drawing for turn soon or dredging back our deck more salvage. Unfortunately, the Dakmar salvage doesn't produce red mana to flashback Conflagrate, so it's not that great. We were just a little light on lands this game, as we do need like 2 or 3 lands to operate. Unfortunately, by dredging, we're locking us out of our own draw step. So maybe we should have just started drawing for turn earlier or something. So we'll take 10, go down to 2, and then I do believe that we need to just draw for turn and try to hit a red source for Conflagrate, although even if we Conflagrate the Vault Scourge for 3, the Blink Moth will kill us in the air, unfortunately. So that leaves our only option as dredging. So we'll dredge a Grave Troll. Didn't hit anything relevant, so unfortunately we are going to lose this game. We did play pretty suboptimally there once again, but this deck has a lot of decisions. It's not the easiest deck to play, especially for someone like myself with not a lot of experience playing it. Alright, so Affinity, I'm going to bring in the obvious cards that are good against Affinity. That includes Ancient Grudge, Abrupt Decay, and Nature's Claim. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the Greater Gargadons because they seem more fit for a grindier matchup than Affinity. Against Affinity, we're pretty much just goldfishing against each other for the most part. And I'm also going to cut these Shriekhorns just because they're pretty weak cards in general. And then my last cut is probably going to be maybe a Haunted Dead. Yeah, Haunted Dead is alright because the blockers are relevant against Affinity, but I think I just need to not play a card that's so slow and do play cards that help me either win the game very fast or disrupt my opponent for as long as possible. So we'll go ahead and submit that, and we're off to the races for game 2. Alright, this hand's reasonable. It has an Enabler and a Dredge card, but more importantly, it has an Ancient Grudge, which is just fantastic against Affinity, but I don't think I need to tell you that. So we'll get rid of Stinkweed Imp and Golgari Grave Troll. So we'll start by dredging the Grave Troll. Hit an Archimedes, which is good. And then we'll go ahead and hold up this Ancient Grudge. I could have Conflagrated to kill those 2 guys, but I don't think that's really necessary to do at this point. We can always save Conflagrate for when it'll be truly devastating to him, as opposed to just medium devastating. We'd like to extract the most value possible out of our cards. Mox Opal is fine. Rest in Peace. That one's not great for us, but we're going to have to live with it. So I would feel a lot better now if we did Conflagrate his guys, but it is what it is. Alright, so the end step I can Ancient Grudge something, but I don't think there's anything really worth Ancient Grudging at this moment, so I'm going to go ahead and just untap. Alright, so Conflagrate. You can Conflagrate for 1. Not that great. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pass turn. We can just continue holding up this Ancient Grudge. We do need to find an answer to this Rest in Peace as soon as possible, or else we just lose. Fortunately, we drew Ancient Grudge and not one of our Nature's Claims. That seems like finally a good target to use our Ancient Grudge on, so we'll go ahead and do that. Not a great draw, not a great draw. So I'll go ahead and pass and just leave this Narcomoeba up as a blocker. Obviously this Rest in Peace is really devastating against us. I don't think we can reasonably win the game. I'm going to go ahead and block that Midnight while I can. I don't think we can reasonably win the game until we draw out to that Rest in Peace. Bloodghast. Suppose I'll cast it. It's not very good per se. And then next turn I'll start having to think about maybe hard casting Stinkweed Imp or Narcomoeba, or maybe a Conflagrate for 1. We have a lot of options, but they're pretty bad options at that. Luckily our opponent is not putting a lot of pressure on us, so we should be able to get a few draw steps closer to and out to the Rest in Peace. Our second Edge Champion is definitely good. Alright, Ancient Grudge is a start, but I'm going to go ahead and Conflagrate this Signal Pest for 1 just to get it off the board. And we'll pass turn, as there's nothing else we can really do. Alright, looks like we're going to be defeated quite quickly here. Yeah. We can Ancient Grudge this Cranial Plating to save a turn, but at this point it's only a matter of time before we lose. We don't even have a sequence of draws that can really beat these two Edge Champions. So we are going to go ahead and concede here and not waste anyone's time. So that shows how tough a card like Rest in Peace can be to beat. We even drew Ancient Grudge, which should be a great card against Affinity, but the Rest in Peace just kind of made it kind of meh, and we just couldn't beat through the Rest in Peace. But that's the risk of playing a deck like Dredge. So that was the second match, and we'll be back for the third match in just a bit.